New World News. Why is it still called New World News, you may ask? Because we said so. I'm your new newscaster, Philip McCrack. It's French. I'm filling in for former newscaster of New World News, Harry Buds. Why? Because that was like 50 years ago. This week, Abraham Lincoln was inducted into office, and he has already begun speaking out against slavery. This is good news for us Northerners. However, the South isn't so fine and dandy. We now go live to news reporter Justin Time for the scoop. Justin?
Thanks, Phil. I'm here in Kansas where fellow Northerners are speaking out against slavery above the 3630 line. I agree that they should follow the rules, but popular sovereignty does too. They beat us to that one, Phil. Back to you.
Thanks, Justin. In other news, this week the Compromise of 1850 was inducted. This means good news for both Northerners and Southerners. We now go live to reporter Thomas Jacksonson with the scoop. Thomas?
Hi, Phil. I'm standing outside of D.C. where I'm going to talk to state-renowned politician Jamie Hunderman. Hi.
Hi. Okay, so we got two notes here. One from a woman in the South called Diabetes, and a man up north named Richard Moneybags. Diabetes states, well, I think it's good and bad. Y'all know we got that Fugitive Slave Act where we can go and our strong burly man can go out there and round up them sneaky slaves and we can reassign them. And Richard Moneybags here says, I think it's okay. I mean, California is a free state, so those dirty Southerners can force those innocent slaves to do mining work, but they still got that Fugitive Slave Act where we all have our sides in our own decisions.
It's really interesting. Phil, back to you.
Interesting. Thank you, Thomas. If you haven't heard yet, civil war may break out due to differing economies and other differences between the North and the South. The South makes money, as we've mentioned, by slave labor and trade imports. Here in the North, we make money from industrialization. We make such things as guns, interchangeable parts, and clothes. We now go live to a schoolhouse in D.C. where some of the students will define some of the words we will tell you about and some that we have already talked about. John, take it away.
Hi, everybody. I'm Johnny Johnson, and I'm here at a school in D.C. where a student is going to tell us some definitions of words that we've been hearing about. Here is little Tommy J.
Hey, everybody, and hi, Mom. Slavery. Slavery means forced labor of someone for someone else's profit. Slaves' rights are the rights of and freedoms a state or group has to make decisions. Popular sovereignty is when two or more groups decide the future of something by popular vote.
Thank you, Tommy. And, John, this has been the Student Spotlight. Back to you, Phil.
Thanks, John. Speaking of states' rights, the South has clearly expressed their feelings about states' rights in this letter we actually got to the station today. I'll read it to you now. We here in the South prefer states' rights to some big capital decision. We believe that every state should be able to make its own decisions, and those decisions should not be interrupted or broken by the government. That's a fair point, actually. However, they're using this quote to justify slavery, and that it should not be allowed to be taken away from them by the states' rights. Interesting. In other news, the Missouri Compromise took place this past month. The rules are as follows. Neil?
I'm here at the Capitol building where the Missouri Compromise has now been written down. I will now recite the rules. Here we go. The Missouri Compromise states that because a decision between if land west should be free or slave, a new rule has been introduced where land only above the 3630 line will be free. Anything below will be slave. However, this is thrown out the window due to the Compromise of 1850's rules about the Fugitive Slave Act and popular sovereignty. Here in the North, people were okay with it because we had plenty of supporters, and South feels bad for the opposite. Phil, back to you.
Thank you, Neil. And once again, other news, we have a story about a brave man who fought for its freedom and what he thought was right. His name is Dred Scott, a former slave who was taken by a bounty hunter back to the South to be reinstated into slavery. He fought for his freedom by taking the issue to court. His defense was that he had been living on free soil for long enough time to be considered free, as well as we are here in the North. However, the Supreme Court ruled his judgment as follows. They said that since he was an African American, he had no rights and they could be captured freely. We here in the North are baffled by this rule, and in the South, they're as happy as can be. This new rule means that they can reinstate any slave they want and get as many as they can or want to keep. And folks, here comes the hard news. All of what we've covered today has been leading up to a civil war, as we have mentioned before. I know you're all scared. I mean, I am too. I have a family. But hey, that's just news. New world news. Thanks for watching. I've been Philip McCrack, and as you know, I'm always up your crack.